Hey expert investors, I think we did a video about this before, but I want to stress some very important points now, and I want you to prepare for this ahead of time. So Ontario introduces legislation to freeze rents in 2021. All things are pointing to this passing very easily. I cannot see anybody, any politician at least, standing up to this or not voting for this to go through. So the act is called the Helping Tenants and Small Businesses Act. If passed, would freeze rent in 2021 for most rent-controlled and non-rent controlled residential units. The bill would provide the vast majority of Ontario's tenants with financial relief as the province continues the path down renewal, growth, economic, blah, 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 blah. Politics aside, the most important thing I want to stress to you here is the rent freeze includes rent-controlled and non-rent controlled units. This was a big point people were bringing up, and questions we received, that what if my property, my rental unit was built after 2018 when rent control is not in place. So if your property or unit was built after November 2018, then the Ontario guidelines for rent control do not apply to you. But this legislation for the rent freeze in 2021 applies to rent control units and non-rent controlled units. So everybody's in play here. So what does that mean to you as a landlord right now? If you haven't given your rent increases, you want to give them now and hopefully have them become effective before the end of 2021. It might be too late for that given the notice time in the landlord or the Residential Tenancies Act notice. I believe it's 90 or 120 days notice. So if that's true, then we're well beyond that date. Your rent increase would come into effect in 2021. So it might not even be worth going down that road right now. Second thing to remember, if you're leasing out units right now during this time, you probably want to go for maximum rent because you're not going to be able to raise your rent next year. Okay, just a consideration. Don't be vacant for 3, 4, 5 months just to get an extra $50 or $100, but I would err on the side of maximum rent potential for your unit in your location. And if you need help with that and guidance, please reach out to us. We're happy to help you. Okay. Now, the bill, the Helping Tenants and Small Businesses Act. I love how they word these things. Politics is a new thorn in my side. Anyway, it is supposed to propose a change. Here it is. Propose a change to the Commercial Tenancies Act, extending the temporary ban on evictions for commercial tenants. Okay, so commercial tenants, small businesses who are leasing office space, retail space, etc., who are having trouble surviving during these interesting times, will, if the bill passes, will not be evicted due to non-payment. Okay, so but carefully, the ban was initially in place from May 1st to August 31st, 2020 to align with the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance. The temporary ban would continue to apply for businesses that are eligible for federal provincial rent assistance through the CECRA for small businesses, but their landlord chooses not to apply for the program. So there was aid available for small businesses, but the landlord of the commercial building would have had to apply for it. Now, if the landlord did not apply for it, the tenant would be eligible for a certain program that they would have to apply for. But this this eviction ban will include all those small businesses. So the ban will protect small businesses from being locked out or having their assets seized during COVID-19. So why is this important? Well, I actually kind of halfway agree with this. I mean, I own a small business. We're not in any trouble paying rent or anything like that, but I don't want to see small businesses go down because of what's going on right now. And we'll leave the politics out of this, but I'm hoping some of the landlords choose to work with them. And what's interesting is that the initial subsidy that came down from the federal government was only available if the landlords applied. So they had to make another program for those small businesses who were engaged with landlords who did not apply for the program. Now, many people, at least a few people that I know personally who have been looking for bigger or smaller commercial space, scaling up, scaling down, looking for new space for whatever reason, we've been thinking, wow, there's going to be a glut of commercial space available, and we're going to be able to negotiate, and hasn't been the case. And this is probably going to continue that, because if people aren't getting kicked out and there are more vacancies coming, then why would any landlord negotiate? So something to think of if you're a small business owner and you're in this category. Okay. Now the rest of this is just political propaganda. I'm not even going to get into it, but I wanted to update this for you guys so you're very, very clear on what's going to happen. As we get closer to 21 and this bill passes and Ford tries to make himself look good, I want you to know the real meat of it before that happens, so you're not asking a million questions. Okay? So if you have questions on this, happy to chat, put a comment, send me an email. You guys know my email, and we'll talk soon.